Hi, my name is Janie Harvey, one of HomeAbound's training administrators. First, I would like to take the opportunity to welcome you to HomeAbound and thank you for making the decision to be a part of our team. Now, this presentation is to give you a brief understanding regarding person-specific care plans and documentation. During this presentation, I will introduce you to various care plans and documentations that we implement here at HomeAbound to ensure that our individuals are receiving the best of care. Now, during the presentation, you will only see the first page of each documentation. This is just to give you an idea of what the document looks like. Also, all documents are located in SharePoint on the agency forms, then on the admission and annual procedures and forms. Now, I will be introducing you to the ISP assessment summary, which is usually used in our ICF units. Also, the SMA, the IAPP, CSSP addendum, verification of record review, formal and action objectives, one-page description, and finally, job aids. Now, this first document is our individual service plan. Now, the ISP is our written details of supports, activities, and resources required for the individual to achieve personal goals. In addition, it is developed to articulate decisions and agreements made during a person's centered process of planning and information gathering. The general welfare and personal preference of the individual are the key consideration in the development of all plans. Now, the IDT, which is interdisciplinary team ultimately responsible for assessing and documenting each person's personal choice and preference, significant health care, mental health or behavior needs and related maintenance needs, and also safety and financial skills. In sequence, the teams translate this information into goals and objectives, which are then contained within the written plan. The plan results in outcomes that maintain or change services or supports to reflect that is most important to and most important for the individual in their daily life. Next, we have the SMA. The SMA, which is known as the Self-Management Assessment. The self-management can be defined as the decisions and behaviors that patients with chronic illness engage in that affect their health. Now, this plan or assessment is generated and implemented based on decisions and behaviors that affect the health of individuals with chronic illness. This assessment is initiated and processed with the presence of the individual, if possible, and his or her IDT, families and or guardians in regards to knowledge of the individual, his or her beliefs, and social facilitation to achieve health-related outcomes. Self-management is implemented in relation to long-term chronic health conditions, in regards to coping with long-term health conditions and managing the emotional and practical issues they present. Next we have is our IAPP, which is also known as the Individual Abuse Prevention Plan. This program is required to establish and enforce ongoing written individual abuse prevention plans as required under the Minnesota statutes. Now, the contents of this plan includes a statement of measures that would be taken to minimize the risk of abuse to the vulnerable adult when the individual assessment required. This also indicates the need for measures in addition to the specific measures identified in the program abuse prevention plan. The measures shall include specific actions the program will take to minimize the risk of abuse within the scope of the licensed service, and also identify referrals made when a vulnerable adult is susceptible to abuse outside the scope or control of the licensed services. The assessment indicates that the vulnerable adult does not need specific risk reduction measures. In addition to those identified in the Program Abuse Prevention Plan, the individual abuse prevention plan shall document this determination. Next, we have the CSSP Addendum, which is also known as the Coordinated Service and Support Plan Addendum. The Coordinated Service and Support Plan Addendum means the document requires the provider for each person receiving services. Therefore, the individual's IDT are all participants in developing a CSSP Addendum. Within the scope of service and the responsibilities assigned to the provider in the CSSP or the CSSP Addendum includes the following: health service need for staff with CPR training, psychotropic medication monitoring, incident reporting, positive support transition plan, individual abuse prevention plan, which is known as our IAPP, assessments, supports and methods, use of permitted procedures, data collection and evaluation, and progress reports and recommendation. In other words, this plan consists of all the other plans, like the IAPP, the SMA, etc., etc. This is all those plans are conveyed into this plan. And so this plan is necessary to have all participants present, individual if possible, the IDT, which is the disciplinary team, guardians, case manager. It consists of all of those people. So this is just the first page that I'm showing you, and as you can notice that all the outcomes are also located on in this particular documentation. And the next page I want to show you is the last page of this documentation. In the bottom of this page, there is a space located to describe any items discussed at this particular meeting, which is usually the annual, that were not otherwise addressed in the CSSP Addendum already. So if there anything that is discussed other than what's already in this addendum, it should be placed in a note at the bottom of this page. As you can see, the arrow is pointing to. And also there's a date. This particular addendum should be mailed to the team. And there's a date located there, and that date should indicate when this after the annual, when this particular document was updated, enforced, and mailed to the team. Next, we have the verification of record review. This particular document is in place, and it's inserted in the individual chart. So whenever any records and or care plans are reviewed, the record verification should be initiated, signed, and dated. This is located in the front of every individual's chart. Next, I would like to talk to you about objectives. There are two types that we use here at Homebound: action objective and formal objective. These objectives are implemented when writing or creating goal activities for the individual. Action objectives requires data collection. It's usually ongoing, and typically no editing is necessary. As for formal objective, it requires teaching. It's time constrained. Typically, editing is necessary. For example, action objectives would consist of prone, which is passive range of motion or range of motion. Another action objective is a standard. Adaptive equipment. These particular objectives, which I said previously, does not it requires data collection. So therefore, prone, standard, adaptive equipment, you have to collect data on how the individual is doing with these particular action objectives. Also, it's ongoing, and it does not need editing because it stays the same. Okay, in other words. Now, a formal objective will be medication administration, communication, daily living, money management. As I said again previously, these particular objectives require teaching. It's time constrained, and it's also require editing. It's typically necessary when reaching the goals of these particular objectives. Next up, we have is a one-page description. This page is implemented to summarize what people like and admire about the individual, what is important to the individual, and what you should know to best support the individual. So therefore, it's just a summary. You will find what people like and admire about the individual. You will find what is important to the individual. And at the bottom is a summary of what you should know to best support the individual, how to take care of them, how to do their personal hygiene, their daily DLS, what they like and don't like, whether they like to listen to music, what they like to eat, what they don't like to eat, how they like to be dressed, whether or not they can pick out their own outfit, etc., etc. Now, this is one page description. This is what you will find in the documents on your server. But if you want to make it a little bit more personal and put a personal branding on it, you could be creative. And it's the same thing, what people like and admire about the individual, what's important to the individual, and what you should know to best support the individual. It's kind of like the job aids, kind of summarized into one page. So I think it's a great tool to use, and you will also find this in the individual's documentation. Next is a job aid. This particular document is in place to aid staff in assisting individuals with daily living skills and hygiene accordingly. This is a great tool that is located in the individual's chart and also on the server on their documentation. This is a great piece of document to help you take care of the individual, assist them in anything in their mobility, or know whether they are mobile or not, what you need to give the individual the best of care. So that's it. If you would like to get any further information on these particular documentations, and again, I'll remember that all documentations are located in the individual's chart and also located on the HBI company server. If there are any further questions regarding person-specific documentation or care plans, please refer to your program manager and or your OA, which is your operation administrator. They are always available to assist you in doing your job successfully. Again, thank you for your time and welcome to Homeward Bound, and good luck with your journey here at Homeward Bound. Thank you. Bye-bye.